Hey folks, this is Steve Vai, and you're watching Sonic Perspective. So get your heavy metal glasses on so you can see what's going on here.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another interview of Sonic Perspectives. I'm Rodrigo, and today I have the pleasure of speaking to one of the most innovative guitar players of all time, Mr. Steve Vai. Steve, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Rodrigo. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's my first time interviewing you, and we have a lot of ground to cover. But the main reason of our chat today is, of course, your upcoming album, Inviolate, which comes out just in time for your massive tour in 2022.
And 23. It goes for about a year and a half.
Oh, wow. Give us an overview of how this album was created and what are the touring plans?
Yeah, sure. At the beginning of before the pandemic, my plans were to work on the third installment of a trilogy
Mm,
of records, Real Illusion records, that I was working on. It was a big project. It was going to require a tremendous amount of work and other musicians, all vocals. And when the pandemic hit, it really changed the way that a lot of musicians do their thing.
yeah.
There was a lot of interesting developments that came out of it. For instance, Zoom.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be here if we didn't have. And also, musicians started exchanging files and kind of working that way. So I couldn't do that with that record. So I used the lockdown period to kind of explore some ideas that I always wanted to, but never really took the time to.
Hmm.
And that's when I started posting some stuff. There was a couple of songs that I did made it to Inviolate, which is Candle Power
Yeah.
and Knappsack and Sandman Cloud Mist. So they were things during lockdown that I had done that they required a lot of focus and time, so it was perfect. But one of the things I did was to record a little solo acoustic vocal version of one of my songs called "The Moon and I," which
Mm.
is very rare. Matter of fact, I don't think it's possible to see me singing and playing acoustic guitar by myself. That
Yeah.
rarely happens, but I did it. I love it, and I love singing, and I like my voice a lot.
Mm.
But it's very limited, and it's not a rock and roll, or it's not conventional in any way. But if it hits the right song,
Yeah.
not bad.
It works. Yeah.
So it works. So I always wanted to record a record of solo acoustic vocal,
Hmm.
because I have a lot of songs that are kind of not very conventional, like a singer-songwriter kind of song. Um, I started to work on that, and I got pretty far, and I ran into some issues with my shoulder
Mm.
late last year, and I had to get a surgery to get these three tendons fixed, and it worked really well, totally healed.
Hmm.
Then I tore another tendon
Oh.
6 months ago, so I'm trying to, navigating through that. But when I had gotten out of the surgery, I couldn't play for quite a while. And when I
Hmm.
started to play, there was just nothing there in my right arm. It was interesting because it's never happened. It was the first time in my entire life that I thought, okay, so this is what it's like at the end of the day for Steve. Well, it's like, okay, so it's over.
Mm.
Okay, what are you gonna do? I figure something that, and then another voice came in and said, "Shut the fuck up and just start doing it. You got this. You didn't lose anything. Get to work and stop with the."
Yeah.
So I said, "Okay, okay," and bam, it kept it's still still a work in progress, but
Hmm.
it's there. So, but that didn't allow me enough time to go and do anything else but get a record done to get out on tour because I really wanted to tour. So I took those tracks from the lockdown, a couple of them, and I had some great tracks I always wanted to record, and I did those, and that turned into Inviolate. The other thing, the other track on the record that was a real challenge is Teeth of the Hydra.
Oh,
So yeah, did you see the Hydra? Did they show you a
I
picture of
did
it?
not see it. I can't wait to see it. To be honest with you,
Uh,
it's probably insane. Can you describe it to us?
yeah, the inspiration first came. I was watching a Mad Max movie,
Oh,
and there's like one of the scenes where they're going through the desert,
yeah,
and there's a guy on the front of a truck, and he's playing the guitar, and he's like
yeah,
this crazy guy. And I just thought the guitar looked really cool. And I said, I got to do something. I was inspired.
yeah.
So I came up this idea just came to me to have a guitar made that has three necks
Hmm.
and harp strings, and the top neck is a 12 string, but it's half fretless.
Oh, wow.
It has a sustainer, and the middle neck is a 7 string, and the bottom neck is a bass with
Jesus.
the E and the A strings are fretless,
Hmm.
you know, and then it's got these harp strings, and this was the idea. And as far as how it could look, I was really into steampunk fashion at the time. So I gathered all of this steampunk kind of paraphernalia and the
Hmm.
idea itself for the guitar, and I sent it to Hoshino. And these guys, man, they went,
Crazy, right?
man, they went crazy. The first thing I get back is like a rendition.
Mm.
And I'm looking at this, it, and I'm like, you can build that? And yes, Mr. Steve, you can build that. So I we started going back and forth, and they made a prototype, and then finally I got the final guitar. That whole process before the final guitar arrived took about 3.5 years, 4 years. And when I got it and I looked at it, I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? And what am I going to do? Because I knew I had to record a piece of music on it that was a piece of music,
Yeah.
and not a novelty that didn't serve the guitar well. The idea was to create a piece of music that used all the necks
Hmm.
in one performance.
Right.
So these are ideas that are like they're right at the brink of my believability
Mm.
that I can do it.
Right.
So if it falls even slightly over, I don't know. I don't know if I could do that. You got to be practical. You know.
Yeah.
Uh, then I brush it aside, and what I look for are those ideas that say you can't do that now, but you could if you put the time in.
Right.
You know. So
Right.
those are really great ideas for anybody
Yeah.
because they're tailor made for you. They're made for you and delivered to you by the universe in you. And they say to you, here's a unique idea that is specifically for you. And by the way, you can do it. You
Right.
can do it. Now, the mind comes in and says, oh, I don't know if I could do it. What if I fail? What if it doesn't fit in? What if it's not something that everybody is doing? What if so that's the voice of the ego because
Mm.
it's completely in fear all the time. But your inspirational voice says, shut the fuck up and just do it. You can do it. Just do it. Just do it and do it now. You got it. That's all you need. Just do it.
And are there any other songs that you can play with the Hydra so far, or just that one? Are you planning to bring it on tour, or?
Brother, be good to me, all
Right.
right? Go easy on me.
All right.
Uh, okay, so what I mean by that is getting one song done on the Hydra was
Challenging enough. Yeah.
challenging enough for me. Now, my idea in the beginning was I wanted to do like 3 or 4 songs,
Hmm.
but I just didn't have the time. It's a beast, and
Right.
when I finally got behind the guitar, I carved out 6 weeks to just do the one song, and
Mm.
it's the difficult thing with playing the Hydra is when you listen to the song, the bass, the 7 string, the 12 string, and the harp are all one performance. I did it in sections, but it's one performance. And when you do that, conventionally music's got a bass going pum 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 pum, and then something on top of it. So you could, but with the Hydra, it has to be completely linear.
Right.
So if I'm playing a note on the 7 string, I don't have any hands to play the other, so I have to work it in. So
Right.
the track, when you hear it, if you listen to the track and you look at a picture of the guitar, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
So I have more ideas for more songs on the Hydra, but it just takes so much time and focus to
Yeah.
bring them into life.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. My favorite song on the album is Zeus in Chains, where you do one of the most insane runs towards the end. Tell me about that one. I believe you played everything but drums on that one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a guitar by my bed,
Mm.
and every night before I go to bed, while my wife is getting ready, I pick up the guitar and I just start playing, and I usually have my phone.
Mm.
And Zeus was just one of those riffs, it's kind of like I was sitting there and I was like, okay, that's nice. I like that. And then I'm like, okay, there's a song in there. Okay. And then it said, the melody said, now you have to go here. There's no other place to go, in my mind, So I always love these big, rich, chords.
Yeah.
Big major or minor sounding chords with distortion and stuff. And then I knew it had to go someplace else. Okay, now that's all I had, and I had that on my little iPhone. But in it was the DNA of an entire song.
Yeah.
You've done this. You get it. Okay, I know this part. I know what the rest. I don't know what it's going to be, but I know what it needs to be.
Yeah.
Right. So then I knew that I wanted a big, beautiful resolve right there on the next. I'm like, oh, Lord.
Nailed it. Yeah.
So that to me is the zest of life for
me.
When your inner ear is telling you to go someplace because that's where it needs to go, and then you find that and it's better than you expected, that's heaven in a cup. That's why I play the guitar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because nothing is better than that.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a track in there, Little Pretty, where you play a Gretsch. How challenging was it for you to tackle this instrument?
Yeah, it was hard. I chose to use the Gretsch because Little Pretty, that was another one where I just had the riff, I did it in my bedroom before I went to bed. And all I had was and as soon as I did that, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, something cool's in there, And then when I hit that chord, I was like, take me home, Jesus. It just felt so good. And then and that's all I had. I didn't even have that much, but you see, within it, just this chord, the rest of the song is there. Mm-hmm. It's hard to explain, So then I had that riff on the shelf for like 5 years, and I'm like, please, Lord, give me time to do this. I want this song so bad. And then finally, when it came time to do Inviolate, I'm like, okay, now's the time, and that's it, And it was I love that song, it's weird. It's beautiful, you know. And
Yeah.
that solo section, the chords. That I had more fun writing those chords, and that for that I took a very sort of academic music theory approach
Mm.
to build them. I knew a few things. One, every chord had to be different. Different scale, different tonality, different emotional atmosphere, and they had to move quick, and also they couldn't be in 4/4. You
Right.
know, so those were just parameters and that I set up, and then I said, okay, what are those chords? So I listened to the song and the atmosphere that the song creates in you,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and then you embrace that, and then anything that comes out of you must work if you're in alignment with the atmosphere of the song, the harmonic, the emotional atmosphere. It's all about the emotional atmosphere. And you can call upon your knowledge of music theory if you want. It's not necessary, but it can. For me, it's usually pretty helpful.
Yeah.
So I constructed all these weird, sort of like synthetic modes, and the chords came from that, and then the solo. And I knew that for the solo in that song, I didn't want it to sound like, because when you have these dense chords moving like that,
Mm.
it's not. I mean, it's very common to drift off into jazz fusion land,
Yeah.
you know, where your the chord comes up and you know the scale, so that's what you play, you know,
Yeah.
and I just refuse to do that shit, you know. It sounds like, you know, academics, you know.
Yeah.
So I said, you're going to write melody. It has to be melodic. It has to be melody, or don't do it, you know.
Right.
And that's what I did, and I did my best.
Hmm.
You know, somebody else's best is maybe much better, or
Or
more
different.
acceptable, or whatever. But it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. You can only do the best you can do.
Yeah.
And when you feel as though you did the best you can do, that's a very rewarding feeling.
Yeah. On that note, you recently announced the Vai Academy on early August 2022 with an amazing theme, Find Your Note. Tell us about the event and how that theme occurred to you.
Well, it's finding your note is a phrase that I've used for a long time, and what it
Mm.
basically means is, so it's my belief. Actually, it's not a belief. It's a knowing.
Mm.
Okay, the, and my I'll use belief. My belief is that everybody, every person, every living person, has a creative impulse. You know, they have a. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, whatever, however the universe created us, we create to expand the universe.
Hmm.
That's what's happening. We're
Yeah.
expanding the universe. So everybody is different. Everybody has different perspectives. They have different likes, dislikes. They have a whole different reality than anybody else. This is,
Yeah.
you can't, this is undisputable. So your creative impulses are unique for you. People don't appreciate them a lot of times
Yeah.
because they foo-foo them. They're like, yeah, but they may be doing something that's very creative that they're enjoying tremendously, that that has no fear in it. It has no fantasy, future, anything. It's just pure enjoyment of the creative process in this moment. And this is available to everybody, and it happens through people in very simple ways. When I for someone like me, writing the chord changes for Little Pretty, there's
Mm.
nothing monumental in it, in what it took to do it. It was the simple listening and doing. So for some people, that's the case when they go to cook.
Yeah,
They taste things with their mind. Where
absolutely.
I have a tone deaf tongue, I can't do that. But God,
Right.
for my wife, if I cook anything, she just will refuse to eat it.
And you're Italian. How did that
I'm
happen?
Italian. Well, she's Italian too, so I
Yeah.
give. So, but the thing is, there's simple joy. There's joy in the simple things that you do that you enjoy, and it could be anything. It could be designing a pick. It could be making covers for iPhones.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter as long as you're enjoying the process. If you're enjoying the process, that means that inspiration is tailor fit for you. That's your note.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
and what I at the camp, you don't have to be an inspired elite guitar player to
Mm.
enjoy playing the guitar, and you still have a note. you
Yeah.
know and when that note comes out, what I mean by that is there's a musical voice in you that's not Stevie Ray Vaughan or Joe Satriani or Steve Vai, or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's not anybody else. Elements of that might be in there, but it's you. It's actually your unbridled expression on the instrument with no excuses. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
this is what this particular camp is based on. Find that note, recognizing it, and moving forward with it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I have a question for you. One thing I always thought you were distincted from the other shredders of your generation is that you take a lot of attention to the entertainment side of things, right? The way you move on stage and everything. I have a theory that you learned that from working with David Lee Roth and David Coverdale. How much of that is true, or even Frank Zappa to a certain extent? How much of that is true, and how much of that is you taking that decision?
Well, I've been a ham from way back. You know, I it started when my parents when I was like 6 years old, and they brought home the theme, the soundtrack for West Side Story,
Mm,
and I saw the movie, and I immediately enjoyed the idea of performing, and like being uh, almost theater, because that's what I first saw, and that's what really turned me on theater.
mhm.
I didn't want to be I didn't have any pull to be in theater,
Right.
but I liked the idea of performing. And before I played the guitar, I used to have a broom,
Mm.
and for years I would lock the door to my bedroom, turn the music up as loud as I can, and we had a big mirror and two beds, and I would just have that broom, and I was the biggest rock star in the world in that mirror. And boy, that was heaven in a cup. And so the desire to perform was kind of always in there.
Mhm,
uh, I never thought I would, because I thought, wow, that's a pipe dream.
mhm.
But I was loving it when I was a kid, and then finally, one thing led to another, and I started playing the guitar. With Frank Zappa, there was no real performance. And even through college and high school, I was trying to perform. I was trying to
Mm.
learn how to not just stand there and play. There is nothing wrong with just standing there and playing and not performing. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with that. If you're an inspired, connected player, you're just as effective. I want it all. I always wanted it all, and that's what I work on, having it all. And I have no, I don't feel guilty about that at all. That's what we do,
No, no. Yeah.
and and I always liked the idea of being a performer and doing my best to kind of merge a fluent ability
Yeah.
to play in ways that I visualized in my head when I was a kid, which was effortlessly, elegantly, beautifully. I used to practice looking in the mirror. I wanted my fingers to look beautiful,
Mm.
because that's part of being an entertainer,
Yeah.
and it feels good, you
Yeah.
know. And I would watch, and I would just take that. I would just like take a, that I'd look in the mirror, and I'd imagine what it looked like to be beautiful
Mm.
with your hands and stuff. Because if I was watching somebody play, that I love seeing that, right? You
Yeah,
know, so
of course. Yeah.
so I just that was a mental directive that I gave myself, and it just manifests. It has to. So when I joined Frank's band, the only thing on my mind when I was on stage was watching Frank and making sure I hit the right notes. I
Hmm.
was oblivious to the audience, you know.
Right.
Then when I joined Dave Roth's band, I mean, to answer your question, yes. He was instrumental in helping me to break down certain barriers that I didn't know how to relate to 25,000 people a night, you
Right.
know. And he worked hard on me. I got in his band. I was thin,
Mm.
you know, and I had, he kicked my ass in the gym. We'd go to the gym every fucking day, and
Wow.
we'd go running. He would take me out jogging all the time. He's intense, you know. So, um, and when we got into rehearsals, I had like pseudo rock star moves
Right.
because I never really got a chance to exercise them, and I was young.
Mm.
And there was David Lee Roth, one of the greatest stage performers.
Yeah.
Come on, let's face it. All right, the man oozed of charisma and confidence
Yeah.
like nobody I've seen.
Yeah.
And there he was right there, and he would he would take me into rehearsals a couple of hours before everybody else, and really work with me on just moving.
Hmm.
Because I moved, but it was gawky.
All right.
It didn't have like the elegance, you know.
Hmm.
So he was really helpful with that. And after him, I was just on my own. Nobody else knew how to do
Right.
that.
Right.
So the difficult thing for me was when I was with Dave. It was perfectly appropriate to act like a rock star,
Mm.
and to be that guy on stage that's a rock star.
Yeah.
And but after that, when I really wanted to, I didn't want to have moves that were just conventional, right? I just wanted to be me, right? I just what do you, God, by? What's natural to you?
Hmm.
So this performance that was natural to me started to emerge, and for some people it was interesting. For a lot of people it was odd. Like just odd. Why does he make those faces? Why is he wearing those clothes? Why is
Right.
he moving like that? I can't stand when he sways or something like that. And so there was a period of time where I doubted myself.
Right.
I'm like, well, people are making fun of me, and
Mm.
people, but then there comes a time where you just can't fight who you are
Yeah.
anymore because you're unhappy. It makes you unhappy.
Yeah.
So you need to adopt a no excuse attitude. No excuse, because what the fuck does anybody know about you really?
Right.
Know what they know about you? Nothing.
Exactly.
But they can comment about you.
Oh
So
yeah.
I started thinking, well, why would what is hell? Hell is the belief that you need to be different to make other people happy. You know why it's hell? Because it doesn't work. It
Yeah.
doesn't work, and also no one's ever satisfied. No one
Absolutely.
can, no one will ever be satisfied for you to change enough to make them happy. Do you know that this is insanity? That's a form of insanity.
Yeah.
So I started to realize you can't why are you trying to change to please people that just have an opinion? Their opinion is fine. Let them have the opinion. It's fine.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be happy unless you just forgive their opinion.
Yeah.
You let them have it, and you don't fight it. You don't feel like you have to change, because another thing happens when you are brutally honest with your own expression. There are people that enjoy it. There are people you will attract people that find value in would you ever want Prince to be anything different than what he was?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Right? Would you
Yeah,
ever want Michael Jackson even to be any different? No way.
of course not. Yeah,
That weirdo that we call weirdo is like is very effective, incredibly fulfilling for certain people because you're just not going to get it anyplace else. So
yeah,
we all have something to offer of incredible vital value, and what that is yourself. But
yeah,
people are insecure about themselves and their creative expression, so they cut at the root
yeah,
of their creative potential. Isn't that
yeah.
interesting?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Now more than ever with the internet and everything. I wanted to ask you, I mean, you played a lot with G3, Generation X. Was there ever any thought about doing a studio album with these guys? I mean, it's so many amazing players, and I think that would be interesting, don't you think?
Yeah, and we've talked about it, but especially with Generation X,
Mm,
we spoke about doing it. It's just a matter of getting everybody together to do it, because everybody has not only solo careers but other bands and stuff,
yeah,
and that was the case through G3 and Generation X. But I think I think we're lucky that we're able to squeak out these records where we're jamming live and stuff. Studio records would be fantastic, but so far we haven't really navigated it.
fair enough. Yeah. Last question for me. I'm curious about one particular collaboration of yours. You play with my fellow countrymen of Sepultura a few times.
Yeah.
What drove you to take that challenge of playing with them? Because they're so different from your usual output.
Well, they asked me,
Oh, okay.
and that was enough because I've followed them since the beginning.
Hmm.
I'm not it's interesting because if you listen to my music, I may not be perceived as like a metal fan, but I just like good music that's played with confidence and heart
Hmm.
and has some kind of uniqueness in it. And that's all the criteria I need, unless it's country music. I'm kidding.
I don't like that either, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I have friends that are great country musicians, and
Mm,
I like their stuff, but um, Sepultura was a band that I had followed, and because I always thought that they had something, one of the things that you notice after a while is the how the historic culture of a particular artist emerges in their music.
yeah,
It's there. It's
yeah,
there. And even when I was working with orchestras around the world, I'd give them the same music and it would sound different. And I'm like, why does this Polish orchestra sound different than this Russian orchestra?
mm,
This same notes. And then I realized there's an accent on the notes, just like when they're speaking. That you
yeah,
like, you says you speak English. Like, okay, so I played with the Florianopolis Orchestra, and the notes sound like your accent.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, I do. Yeah.
So that was in Sepultura's music.
Hmm.
So it's a different cultural kind of thing. So it's different than it. It was just different than everything. No matter, even if they were trying to copy somebody, it's not going to happen. There's a cultural adhesion in it. So I always loved that, and uh, they reached out to me, and I just thought, yes,
Uh-huh.
absolutely, I want to do something with these guys.
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
Yeah. Is there anyone else you would like to work with that you haven't so far, or anyone that we might know? Or
Well, I mean, yeah, but I can't, I don't think of it. I can't think of it. There's a lot of musicians that I would like to work with on particular, uh, on a particular song or something
mm,
like that. You know what I mean? But I have no
right.
intentions of like starting a conventional rock band.
Fair
I
enough.
did all that. I did all that, and it was great. But with the time that I have left, my only responsibility to myself is to be as brutally creative as I can
Yeah.
and be happy, healthy, happy, healthy, happy, healthy, dead.
And that's a lot already.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
That's
that's
an
plenty.
Abraham
Yeah.
quote.
Well, Steve, we're running out of time, but let's finish off with a message for the fans about the tour and the upcoming album.
Okay. Hey, folks, this is Steve Vai, and I have a new record coming out. It's called Inviolate, and it comes out January 28th, 2022. And I'm going on tour, and I'm going on tour big time. And I know I'm going to be in your town. You know why? Because I'm going everywhere. I'm going everywhere. So I hope to see you there. Rock on.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Steve. All the best with the new tour and the album. All right. I'll be cranking it.
All right, Rodrigo. Thank you, my
Thank
friend. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Cheers.
Bye. Bye.